Good morning, folks. This is David coming to you with a new Fireside chat. Hope you're having a good week and staying well and everything's going great for you. So today I want to talk to you about gravity. Some of these people come up with many ridiculous false statements about gravity. Flat earthers especially are addicted to this begging a question fallacy. What does that mean? They first assume that the earth is flat, and then they tailor their experiments, their observations, and arguments to prove, sure enough, the earth is flat. They cannot explain gravity on a flat earth because it just doesn't work. And none of them, Sleeping Warrior, Nathan Oakley, gets it. None of these guys are trained scientists. They've never taken a science class. They have no idea of the thought processes that go on when you're thinking about science, and especially physics. Their solution: let's just get rid of gravity. We just deny that it ever existed. And so flat earthers quote many advanced theoretical physicists nowadays who say gravity is not a force. I've heard them talk about Brian Cox, this guy named George Musser, all of these people that say gravity is not a force. And that's their proof that gravity doesn't exist. They say, well, look at all these guys, that say gravity doesn't exist. That, since we're doing fallacies, that is an appeal to authority fallacy. So if you hear any flat earther tell you that there's no such thing as gravity, you need to remember you can tell them that all of those guys are talking from the point of the theory of relativity. So yes, if you talk about the theory of relativity, you're talking about large objects in space, such as black holes, neutron stars, even the sun, things that are big. Yes, it's not the gravity that we think of here on Earth. Those guys are talking about, again, the theory of relativity and space-time. So if they want to say gravity doesn't exist, then they have to talk about space-time. Just there's no other way around it. Another favorite quote is that no one can prove gravity. That is also a bandwagon fallacy. Let's all jump on the bandwagon, and all of us flat earthers are going to say no one can prove gravity. I did an experiment myself to show gravity. I have seen videos that I have saved with proofs of gravity. So they can't tell me that it's not been proved, because it has been proven. Their other proof one of these flat earthers, I won't mention, said distance is a measurement, so it's not science. It's not real science. You can see how desperately they're grabbing at straws to try to show that science doesn't work. So let's just take a look here for a minute at the fictional apple that fell on Isaac Newton's head. It's a nice story. You can tell your kids at night. Flat earthers are going to tell you that the apple fell because of relative density. And again, that's not true. So scientists will, like Newton, will tell you that gravity caused the apple to fall according to Newton's laws of motion and the law of gravity. So a force, any force, has two parts, a magnitude and a direction. Okay? So the magnitude of a force is usually measured in newtons. Thank you, Isaac Newton. And direction, we all know what direction is. So as this apple is falling from the tree, let's just stop, freeze frame for a minute. Just stop it for a minute just to look at it. Gravity is a force that pulls straight down toward the center of the earth. I guess this is another flat earth fallacy, but that's for another time. But gravity pulls the object straight down toward the center of the earth. So it has a downward direction and it has a magnitude. It is the only force on the apple at this point, and it causes the apple to fall to the ground. And then just for completeness sake here, if you happen to measure the time it takes for the apple to drop off the branch and hit the ground, you will find that you can easily calculate the distance that it fell. You can measure the velocity when it hit the ground. You can show from the distance and the velocity, you can show the acceleration. These are all easily done by gravity. Unfortunately, using relative density, you can't do that. It is not possible to calculate those measurements. One of my favorite flat earthers told me once, well, flat earth has to come up with its own science. That again is just a bunch of hogwash. So let's go back and look at our apple. It's still frozen, freeze framed. And let's look at relative density. Relative density has no direction. It's actually a measurement, it's a quality or it's a measurement of matter. So go look up your favorite matter on Google or in a book. Um, Look under, say, tell it you want to look at the properties of gold. You'll come up with a page, and one of those items on that page will be density and relative density. Those are properties of matter. So there is no direction to it, and it only has that magnitude that you look up on the property table. So if relative density causes it to move, which direction does it want to move? It could as easily take off east, west, back up, down, any angle. So relative density just doesn't work. There is no way that relative density can act as a force to pull the apple to the ground. So the last argument that flat earthers always say, I hear constantly, is that it's a thing thought up by Isaac Newton, contradicted by Einstein, and that's just not true. Again, you can look it up. I've done that. You can look it up and you can see that there were many, many men before Newton that were working on gravity, and Newton just brought it all together in one idea. The same with Einstein. He was working from the previous works of other men at the turn of the 20th century, and so none of this stuff is done in private, or you just think it up and write it down. That's just not the way science works. So let me close by saying science doesn't work by itself. You do not come up with a concept like gravity, theory of relativity, all on its own. These things are based on millennia of other science. It's topic built on topic built on topic, and so don't ever let someone tell you that these things are thought up just by some guy sitting in his office at a desk. So you guys have a great week, and we'll see you next week. Don't forget, I'm going to add some homework on the description that I expect you to do. There are 2 videos this week. One of them is very short, but I want you to see how gravity works and see some of the proofs, okay?